Acts chapter 7, verses 1 to 59. Long chapter, many verses. Stephan relates the history of the Jews, and Stephan, as we saw in the last video, was a man that was chosen among 7 to take care of business. And it begins in verse 1. He relates the history of the Jews. He says, Ipe they, O archiarefs, and the chief priests said, E aratavta utos eki? Do then these things so hold too? Because they brought in men that would lie about what Stephan was doing and saying. So they're saying, well, do these men, what they're saying, is that right? O they Ephi, and he said, Andres, adelphi, ke pateras, acusate. He said, men, brothers and fathers, hearken, the imperative, listen. O theostis doxis ophthi to patri imon Avraham. The God of glory appeared to our father Abraham, onti in te Mesopotamia, being in Mesopotamia, prin e kati kise avton in Haran, before his dwelling in Haran. He was down in the southern part of Mesopotamia, Chaldea, and so the family went up to the north to Haran, which was someplace towards the north where the Euphrates River turns towards the west. Verse 3, Ke ipe prosavton, and he said to him, God speaks to man. The first place outside of, I suppose, maybe to Noah, where God is speaking to a man. That's quite a thing, having God speak to a man. I see people that have had angels appeared to them in the Bible, and the few that God spoke to them, I'm always thinking about, boy, it would be kind of interesting if God actually sent an angel to me and spoke like he did to people, or maybe you feel the same way. I wonder what it would be like to have God speak to me. It would be life-changing, I suppose. Be quite a thing to have happen. And so what does God say? And these are all quotes. There's many of them. And if you want to follow the quotes, they're at the bottom of the page. And this one happens to be in Genesis 12:1. It says, Exilthe ectis gis su. Go forth from out of your land, God tells Abraham. Ke ectis singania su, and from out of your kin. Ke thevro is gain, and come into a land whichever on in an si vixo, whichever I shall show to you. So he's having him leave his family and go in another place. Tote exelthon ectis haldeon, then having gone forth from out of the land of the Chaldeans, Katokison in Haran, he dwelt in Haran. Now, Stephan is telling the Jews who know all this, relating it again. Kakethan, and from there, metato apothanin ton patera avtu, after the dying of his father, metokison avton is tingin is in imis nin katikite. He displaced him into this land into which you now dwell. So he's not going to go into the long story of how that all happened. But Abraham now is in Canaan. Ke uk edokan avto kleronomian in avti. And he did not give to him an inheritance in it, in Canaan. Ude vima pothos, nor a footstool. Nothing, no land. Ke epigilato Vune avto is kataskasin avti, and he promised to give it to him for a possession. Keto spermati avtu, met avtu. uk ontos avto techno, and to his seed after him. There not being a child to him. So God is saying he's giving this to Abraham, but Abraham and his seed is going to be one of his sons, but he didn't have any except for Ishmael, I believe. And so Stephan is skipping over quite a bit here. And then Ilali say, they are utos o theos, and thus God spoke. Oti este to sperma avtu parikon in gi alotria, that his seed will be a sojourner in an alien land, which would be, of course, Egypt. Now, Abraham is a man of belief. He wasn't Jewish. And we are children of Abraham that believe. If you think you're a child of Abraham, but you don't believe in Jesus, then you're really not a child of Abraham. You're a child of a different idol or a demon of sorts. And ke thulosusin avto, and they will enslave it, the land, the people, his heirs. Ke katosusin eti tessarakosin, and inflict them evil 400 years. Keto ethnos o ean thulevsamsi krino ego, and the nation whichever should enslave them, Egypt, I will judge. Epen otheo, said God. Ke metatavta exolevsonte, and after these things they shall come forth, the people, ke latrev susimi ento topo tuto, and shall serve to me in this place, being Canaan. Ke edokan avto theathikin peritomis, and he gave to him, Abraham, a covenant of circumcision. Ke utos agenithe ton Isaac ke periet tamen avton, ti imerati ogdoi. And thus he engendered Isaac, and circumcised him the 8th day. Ke o Isaac ton Jacob, and Isaac engendered Jacob, ke o Jacob tus dodeka patriarchus, and Jacob the 12 patriarchs. And this is where the Jews begin, where Jacob fights with God, which isn't mentioned here, and he's renamed Israel. Then the 12 patriarchs, the sons of Jacob. Ke patriarche zelosantes ton Iosif, and the patriarchs, having envied Joseph, the second youngest of Jacob, apedonto is Egypton, rendered him into Egypt, sold him into slavery. Ke in otheos met avtu, and God was with him. Ke exilato avton ek pason ton thlipsion avtu, and God delivered him from out of all his afflictions. Ke edokan avto harin ke sophian enantion Pharaoh, and gave to him favor and wisdom before Pharaoh, king of Egypt, Egyptu. Ke katestisan avton igumenon ep Egypton, ke olon ton ikon avtu, and he placed him, Joseph, as leader over Egypt and his whole house, which would be the whole house of Pharaoh, I would imagine. Ilthe the limos ef olin tigin Egyptu ke Hanan, and there came a famine upon the entire land of Egypt and Canaan. Ke thlipsios megali, and Evriskon hortasmata ipatera Simon, and our fathers did not find fodder. The famine hit. Akusas they Jacob ontasita in Egypto, and Jacob, having heard of grain being in Egypt, except pestile tus patera Simon, proton, and he sent forth our fathers a first time. Until Devtero, Anegnoristi, Iosif, tis Adelphisav too. And in the second time, Joseph made himself known to his brothers. Phaneron, Ageneto to Pharao, to Genos, and the family, the Genos to Iosif. Phaneron, Ageneto to Pharao, to Genos to Iosif. And the family of Joseph became apparent to Pharaoh. He knows they have come. Apostilas the Iosif, and Joseph having sent Metakalesato ton patera aftu Jacob, ke pasantin senganian aftu, and Psyches ebdomi konta pente. And Joseph, having sent, called forth his father Jacob and all his kin, in total 75 souls. Kateve the Iokev, Katevi the Iokob is Egypton, and Jacob went down unto Egypt. Ke etelev tison avtos ke e patera Simon, and he and our fathers came to an end. They all died. Ke metatethison is Shechem, and they were transferred unto Shechem. Ke etethison entio menimati o onisato Avraham timis argiriu paraton ion emor to Shechem. And so they were transferred. They took the bones of Jacob, and they were put in the tomb in which Abraham purchased for a value of silver from the sons of Emor, of Shechem. Kathos they egizon o chronos tis epangelias, but as the time approached of the promise, is almost an otheos to Avraham, with which God swore by an oath to Abraham, ivxison oleos ke eplithin thee in Egypto. The people grew and multiplied in Egypt. Akris u anesti vasilefs eteros, os uk idit ton Iosif, until of which another king rose up who knew not Joseph. Utos katasophisamenos to genos imon, this one having dealt subtly with our race, that's harshly, ekakose tus pateras imon, inflicted evil upon our fathers and put them in slavery. Tu pien ek theta ta vrafi avton isto mi zoogoniste, to make them expose their babies so that they should not be brought forth alive. So not only in slavery, but then to kill their babies. And o karo agenithi Moises, in which time Moses was born, kein astios totheos, and he was fair to God, os anatrophi minas tris ento eco to patros avtu, who was reared 3 months in the house of his father, and the mother and father and his nurse and so forth. Ektethenta they avton, and he, having been exposed, anilato avton ethigatir Pharaoh, the daughter of Pharaoh took him up out of the river, ke anathrepsato avton eav ti is eon, and reared him herself for a son. Ke epedevti Moises pasi Sophia, and Moses was instructed in all wisdom Egyption. Now, when I see that, I'm wondering, well, did he learn hieroglyphics? How did Hebrew come about later? Good question. In the dinatos in logis, ke in ergis, and was mighty in words and in works. Oste epliroto avto tessera conta etis, chronos, and as 40 years of time was filled up to him, aneve epi tinkardian avtu epi skepsas the tus adelphus avtu, it ascended upon his heart to visit his brothers, tus ius Israel, the sons of Israel. Ke idon tina adikumenu iminato, ke epison ekdikison to kata ponomeno, having beheld a certain one being wronged, he defended and executed vengeance for the one being harassed. Pataxis ton Aegyption, having struck the Egyptian. Enomize they siniene tus adelphus avtu, oti otheos the hieros avtu, did those sin avtis soterion. But he thought his brothers would perceive that God is giving deliverance to them through his hands, through Moses' hands. Ideu senikan, but they perceived not. They're wrong. Tide epiusi imera ophthi avtis machomenis, and the following day he appeared to the ones doing combat, ke senil lasin avtus is irenin, and forced them to peace. Epon, having said, Andres, adelphias de emis, men, you are brothers. Inati adikite alilus, why wrong one another? So the two Jews were fighting, and he interferes and tries to make them feel guilty. O they adikon ton plesion, aposato afton, but the one wronging the neighbor thrust him away. Get away. Ke epon, saying, Ti se katestason arkonta ke dikastin o ephimas. Who placed you ruler and magistrate over us? Me, analin me, si thelis? Do you want to do away with me? Ontropon anelis, theis, ton Aegyption? In which manner you did away with the Egyptian yesterday? Ephege de Moises, into logo tuto, and Moses fled at this word. Ke ageneto parikos engi mathiam, and became a sojourner in the land of Midian, worried about the Pharaoh having him put to death. U agenison eos theo, of which place he engendered two sons. Ke plerothenton eton tesseraconta, and 40 years having been fulfilled, now he's 80, ophthi avto enti erimo to orus sina angelos, Kyriou in philongi pyros vatu. And there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai. Now this is not the Sinai you see in the desert. It's way down at the bottom of the Sinai Peninsula there. It's up further, closer to the Red Sea, and there's the Dead Sea. Something called Sin, a mountain. This still has a Sin in the name that appears today. So an angel of the Lord appeared in a flame of fire of a bush. O they Moises idon, and Moses, having beheld, ethavmaze to orama, marveled at the vision. Well, yeah, wow. Seeing this bush burning but not being burnt up. Proserchomenu they avtu katanoise. Then of his coming forward to study it, agenatophoni kyriou prosavton. There became a voice of the Lord to him, saying, boy, I bet that shook him up. Ego o theos ton pateron su. I am the God of your fathers. O theos Avraham, the God of Abraham. K. O theos Isaac, and the God of Isaac. K. O theos Yaakov, and the God of Jacob. Entramos, they genomenos moisis ukatoma katanoise. And Moses, having become trembling, dared not to study it. He's backing off and might be looking on the ground. Ipe they avto ocurius lison, and the Lord said to him, Lison to ipodima ton podon su. Untie the sandal of your feet, in the imperative. Take off your shoes. O gartopos en o estikos gi agia estin. For the place in which you have stood is holy ground. Agia, sacred, set apart. It's a special place. That's what it means, Agia 39. Idon, tin kakosin tu leu mu tu in Egypto. In having beheld, I saw the ill treatment of my people in Egypt. Ke tu stenagmo avton ikusa, and I heard their moaning. Ke kattevin excelesthe avtus, and came down to rescue them. Kenin, Devro, and now come, Apostolos se is Egypton, I will send you to Egypt. Tuton tu Moisin on Nisanto, this Moses whom they denied, Epontus having said, Tis se katestisan archontus ke de Castin, who placed you ruler and magistrate? Tuton, o theos archonta ke litrotin apestilan in hieri angelu. This one God sent as ruler and ransomer by the hand of an angel. To Ophentus avto in Tovato, having appeared to him in the bush. Now exactly if the God was talking to him, but then an angel appeared, which was in a different form, it's hard to say, but this is what it's referring to. And then in verse 36, Utos exigagen avtus, this one led them out, Moses. Piisas terata ke simia in gi Egypto, having done miracles and signs in the land of Egypt. Ke in Erythra Thalasi, and in the Red Sea where the army of Pharaoh was swallowed up. Ke enti erimo eti tessarakonta, and in the wilderness 40 years. Utos isten o Moisis o ipon tis iis Israel. This is the Moses having said to the sons of Israel, Prophetin imin anastisi, Kyrios o theos imon ek ton adelphon imon os ame. The Lord our God will raise up a prophet to you from out of your brothers as me. This was Jesus. But the Jews have rejected Jesus, but yet Stephan is showing this to all the men that are in the Sanhedrin, that a person is going to come as Moses. And he continues and says, Utos estin o genomenos en ti ecclesia ti enti erimo, meta tu angelo tu laluntos avto in Toori Sinah. This is the one having become among the assembly in the wilderness with the angel speaking to him on Mount Sinai. That would be Moses. Ton pateron imon, speaking, and also to our fathers. Os edexato logia zonta thune emin, who received living oracles to give to us. The word of God is living. Jesus says it's alive, and he is the word. O uk ethelisan epikosi geneste epateros imon, to whom our fathers wanted not to become subjects, aposanto, but they thrust away, ke estraphisan, and turned tes cardias avton is Egypton, their hearts unto Egypt. Here is Theomachy again, fighting against God. Verse 40, Epontes to Araon, having said to Aaron, the people said, Peace oni min theus, make to us gods. E proporev onte imon ogar moisis, utos os exigagan imas ek gis Egyptu, which shall go before us. For this Moses, who led us from out of the land of Egypt, uk idaman ti gegonen afto, we've not known what's happened to him. He went up into the mountains for 40 days, I believe. Ke emoskopisan entes imeres ekines, and they made a calf image in those days with the gold. Ke anigagan thesian to idolo, and led up a sacrifice to the idol. Ke ephrenon to entis ergis ton hieron avtun, and made merry in the works of their hands, making up a different religion. So again, this Theomachy, all the things that they did that was bad, Stephan's pointing out that if they did it then, could they do it now? Verse 42, Estripse they o theos, and God turned ke paredokan avtus latrevin ti stratia to uranu, and God delivered them up to serve the military of the heaven, which was the stars, become astronomers, astrologers, basically. Kathos gegrapte in vivlo ton propheton, as it has been written in the book of the prophets. Mi sphragia ke thesias prosenenkate me. Did you not offer to me victims for slaughter and sacrifices? Eti tesseraconta in ti erimo, for 40 years in the wilderness, Ekos Israel, O house of Israel? Ke anelavete tin skinin to Moloch, and you took up the tent of Moloch. Ke to astron to Theu imon Remphan, and the star of your god Remphan, tus tipus us episate proskinin Aftis, the models of which you made to do obeisance to them. Now, I think this was probably later than it was there, because it says, Ke metakio imas epekina vavilonos, and I will displace you beyond Babylon. So during the kings, they started worshiping the stars, even inside of the temple. So this whole part right here is all right here. Did you not offer me sacrifices? Is Amos 5:25 to 27, and 7:44. Iskini to martyriu in tis patrasin imon inti erimo, and the tent of the testimony was with our fathers in the wilderness, the tabernacle. Kathos the ataxato olalon tomoi si, as the one speaking to Moses set in order. That is God on the mount. Pise aftin kata ton tipon on eoraki, to make it according to the model which he had seen. So now, it sounds like Moses actually went up into heaven because it says he saw it here. In 45, inke isi gagon diadexameni ipateris imon meta isu in ti kataskasi ton ethnon on exosen o theos apo prosapu ton pateron imon, which also our fathers, having relieved, brought in with Joshua in the taking possession of the nations in Canaan, of which God pushed out from in front of our fathers. On exosen o theos apo prosopu ton pateron imon eos ton imeron David, until the days of David. Os evri harin enopion tu theu, who found favor before God, that is, David. Ke itisato evrin skinoma to theo Yaakov, and asked to find a tent for the God of Jacob. But Solomon they okodomison afto, but Solomon built to him a house, ikon. In 48, auk o ipsistos in hieropiitos neis katiki. But the highest does not dwell in temples made by hand. Kathos o prophetis legi, as the prophet said. O oranos mi thronos, the heaven is my throne. Idegi ipodion ton podon mu, and earth a footstool for my feet. Pion ikon okodomisate me, what house will you build to me, legi kyrios? Itis topos tis katapavsi mu, or what place for my rest? Uki ihir mu epise taftapanta? Did not my hand make all these things? Sclero trachile ke aperi timis ti cardia ke tis osin. Oh, hard-necked and uncircumcised in the heart. There it is again, theomachy, the fight against God. Emis ei to pneumati to tho antipiptete. You continually rush headlong against the Spirit. And he's throwing out this accusation against the people in the Sanhedrin there. Os ipateros imon, as are your fathers, ke imi, so also you, doing the same thing, showing how bad they were and they still are, and are they today? Good question. Tina ton propheton uk edioxan ipateros imon. Which of the prophets did your fathers not persecute? Ke apokatinon tus pro katangilantus peri tis elevseos tu dikeu. And they killed the ones having pre-announced concerning the advent of the righteous one, who Moses said was coming. Unin imis prodote ke phonis gegeniste, of which you now have become betrayers and murderers of Jesus. Woe. Itenus elevate ton nomon is theatagas angelon ke uk ephilaxate, who received the law by disposition of angels and kept it not, the people of Israel. 54, hakuontes they tavta, the aprinonto, they were sawed through, tes cardias avton, in their hearts as they had been previously. Ke evrikon tus odontos ep avton, they gnashed their teeth against him. They don't want to hear this, they hate him now, want to kill him. Eparkon they, pliris pneumatos agiou, but being full of Holy Spirit, atanisas iston uranon, having gazed into the heaven, Ide doxen theou, he beheld the glory of God. Heaven opens up for him to see. Ke sun estota ek dexion tu theou, and Jesus having stood at the right of God. 56. Ke ipen, and said, Idu, behold, theorotus uranus aneogmenos. I view the heavens having been opened. Ke ton ion tu anthropu ek dexion estota tu theou, and the Son of Man having stood at the right of God. Boy. Croxantes they phoni megali, then having cried out with a great voice, Sinescon ta ota afton, they held their ears. Ke ormison omothimadon ef afton, and advanced with one accord against him, rushing to kill him. Ke ek valontes exotis, and having cast him outside the Polios city, elithovolun, they stoned him. Ke e martyris apethento ta imatia avton paratus podas neaniu kalumenu savlu. And the witnesses put aside their garments by the feet of a young man being called Saul. Ke elithovolun ton Stephanon, and they stoned Stephan. Epikalumenon, the one calling upon Ke legonta, and saying, Kyrie Isu, dexeto pneuma mu, receive my spirit, pneuma. The pneuma continues to live. It goes with Jesus, and the body dies. The flesh ceases to exist. Verse 60, These they ta gonata, and having placed the knees, ekraze phonim megali, he cried out a great voice, Kyrie me stisis avtis tin amortion tavtin. You should not set this sin to them. It's like Jesus said, to forgive the ones that crucified him. Ke tutu epon, and this having said, ekemithi, he went to sleep. Now, going to sleep, it's an interesting subject. Death is one word, but sleep is a different experience than death. It says in Matthew 27:52, and the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the holy ones sleeping arose. Now, the one sleeping, this was after the crucifixion of Jesus. People will have a problem with this when it says we sleep and we're going to be awakened later, because they show the part with Lazarus and the rich man, where the rich man and Lazarus could see Lazarus in heaven. But that was before the death of Christ. So there's a difference, and we'll show you why here as we go down this list of the places on sleep. In John 11:11, it says, These things he said, and after this he says to them, Lazarus, our friend, has gone to sleep, but I shall go that I should wake him. Now this is not the same Lazarus as the rich man. This is the Lazarus from Bethany. Acts 13:36. For David, indeed, having assisted his own generation by the counsel of God, went to sleep, and was added to his fathers and saw corruption. But now here it says that even David went to sleep. So you could sit there and debate this whole thing of sleep or no sleep. Many people do. 1 Corinthians 7:39, But if her husband should sleep, she is free to whom she wants to marry. Again, the sleep. Dying is out if the husband dies. 1 Corinthians 11:30, because of this, many among you are weak and ill, and a fit amount gone to sleep. That's having communion unworthily. 1 Corinthians 15:6, thereupon he appeared to above 500 brothers at once, from out of which the most remain until now, but some also are fallen asleep. 1 Corinthians 15:18, and then the ones having been fallen asleep in Christ perished, if Christ rose not. They would have perished in vain. In verse 15:20 of 1 Corinthians says, but now Christ has been raised from out of dead ones. He became first fruit of the ones having been slept. 1 Corinthians 15:51, behold, I speak a mystery to you. We shall not all indeed sleep, but all shall be changed in an instant, in the blink of an eye at the last trumpet. In 1 Thessalonians 4:13, Paul says, but we do not want you to be ignorant, brothers, concerning the ones having gone to sleep. And then in 1 Thessalonians 4:14, so also God will bring with him the ones having gone to sleep through Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 4:15, that we are the ones living, the ones remaining at the arrival of the Lord, and no one should anticipate the ones having gone to sleep. So this is a sleep that we are going to experience unless we are at the time when we are taken up to be with the Lord. And that was in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. You can read about that. It begins at verse 1. So Stephan now has given the witness and has lost his life. It continues in the next session, the persecution of the assembly. So now the theomachy continues.